Hello, good evening, and welcome to Joy News Prime, coming to you live from our studio here in Koko Mlemle. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. We're also live on the Joy Prime channel. Coming up, this your comment about the judiciary are shameful and unbecoming of a former head of state. Member of Council of State Sam Kojo takes on former President John Mahama over his attacks on the court.
His favor. He didn't say anything against it. Why was it that this one is against him and then he's now using the statement like that? He should never repeat it at all. It is shameful for him. He's my own cousin, but my nephew. It is shameful to make something like because others are saying it. You were former president.
He also criticized the Afrobarometer report on the judiciary.
On the street and interviewed them. And then you say, okay, I interviewed 1,000 people, and out of that, 80% of them said so and so and so, and I will laugh at you. And I said, you think that 1,000 you have interviewed represent the totality of population of Ghana? It's not.
Also in this bulletin, President Akufo-Addo urged to immediately scrap position of regional ministers and deputy CEOs of state-owned enterprises to save distress the Ghanaian economy as rating agencies continue to ring louder alarm bells.
There's a CEO and there's at least one deputy CEO, and so on and so forth. That is the over government. So what happens to the directors and chief directors that are paid by the public money to do their work?
We'll hear from a development and international relations consultant who insists Ghana's economy could have resisted the COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine shock if Ghana Beyond Aid mantra had been practically implemented. Also in this bulletin, NDC braces itself for a fierce contest of the national chairmanship position of the party as General Secretary. Asiedun Ketia declares officially that he will not seek another term in that role as he readies himself to contest incumbent chairman Ofosu Ampofo.
17 years, there's been no internal election where I've had less than 80%.
The American chairman said, General Secretary, take it from me.
Now, President Akufo-Addo is being urged to immediately scrap the position of Deputy Chief Executive Officers of state-owned enterprises and regional ministers. Development and international relations consultant Professor Lord Maoko Yevogan argues this is the sure way of urgently cutting down on costs to save the economy from further decline. International ratings agency Fitch, in its latest commentary on the Ghanaian economy, warned of dire consequences for the Ghanaian economy should government attempt to restructure its debt. Professor Yevogan warns government to take cost-cutting serious. He has been speaking at a lecture here in Accra.
The lecture, organized by Think Progress Ghana and Grasa Gimpa, was geared at understanding the COVID-19 pandemic, Russian-Ukraine war, and Ghana's economy. Professor Lord Maoko Yevuga first pointed out how the global economy was skewed against African economies.
African countries should not sit down and be waiting for the same people that you say are exploiting you to initiate reform. Because in the 1970s and 80s, you have a group of 77 at the UN, made up of countries from Africa, Asia, and Latin America, a group of G77. They used to call for a new global economic order. That was the demand. So there was a whole literature, new global economic order. It never happened because the people you are calling upon to reform the current order are the beneficiaries. How are they going to reform it? So therefore, whilst we support the present demand for reform of the global governance architecture, we think that Africans have to take the bull by the horn by taking our destinies into our own hands, by making sure that we do what is needful.
He argued this created a situation where import-dependent economies are fragile and come under intense pressure during such crisis. He believes short and long-term measures can help Ghana stem the tide.
You go to National Lottery, there's a CEO and there's at least one deputy CEO, and so on and so forth. That is the over government. So what happens to the directors and chief directors that are paid by the public money to do their work? If you are going to have CEO, deputy, and they all drive V8, and they have saloon cars, and they are brand new. So do the math. So if you come back to connect the dots, I will argue here that if you are building a local Ghanaian economy, where the Ghanaians are at the center of the economic control, then if you must even buy those vehicles for those officials, you buy them from Ghanaian companies.
Some participants at the lecture share their views as well.
Look at Kumasi's hometown. Look at people having even Wi-Fi, internet in their villages. The people in power now.
Whether coup or no coup. You see, look, there is danger. There's danger coming if care is not taken. We've seen countries that there are uprisings all over. And civilians are the people who are perpetrating it.
Despite our difficulties, despite what we're going through, I think coup should be out of the equation. It's not, we shouldn't prefer coup as a solution to what we're going through.
Government is meanwhile expected to meet the IMF next week as part of efforts to get a deal to deal with the current economic challenges.
Now, at the Ban Radio lecture on Thursday, Vice President of Imani Africa, Kofi Bentel, explains why COVID and Russia-Ukraine war cannot be blamed entirely for our woes. He attributes Ghana's current situation to expenditure owing to procurement breaches.
And I agree with everybody here who thinks it's about expenditure, because I've argued that it's about expenditure. But it's actually about how we spend. When I talk about procurement in that sense, I'm not going to talk about it in the technical sense in which Dr. Ajay and others who are procurement professionals talk about it, the tendering process. I'm going to talk rather about three things: price, cost, and value. The price at which we do business, whether it's buying or selling as a government, has an effect on cost. Because if you pay more than you should pay, your cost is higher. If you take in less than you should be earning, your revenue is lower. And all of that has to do with the price effect. The second is that once it leads to cost, then because ultimately the value you get is a function of the cost you are paying, the value for money analysis then comes in. So my analysis is not going to be about how we handle procurement at the Central Tender Board or at the Public Procurement Authority in that narrow sense. It's going to be about the prices at which government does business, which affect the cost that the government faces in that very broad sense. And I will argue that we have a problem of systemic waste that is frightening and terrifying, but not as blatant in some countries like Nigeria and Kenya. So sometimes we don't feel it. It takes a bit more unpacking. So one of the things that Ghanaian politicians, God bless their hearts, don't do is they don't go into the kitty and take money from there, like we saw with Abacha. They almost never do that. So if you are looking for somebody who goes to the Bank of Ghana in the middle of the night with a car, like some presidents in Africa we know, and then say, load that 10, you won't find it in Ghana. At least, we don't have evidence. In other words, we have evidence. We have Abacha having hoarded billions of dollars somewhere, which is coming back. So we know for sure. Somebody said Kwame Nkrumah to put some money in Switzerland, blah, blah, blah. It took, 30 years? And all the person was doing was using to collect money from other people to live large in London. Because we couldn't find any money that Kwame Nkrumah started anywhere. So we have to accept that the evidence show that most Ghanaian politicians don't go to the Bank of Ghana and siphon money out. So they do it in ways that are more delicate. And today I'll show you some of that. Some of it may not be advertent. Some of it may. Some of it may be malice, aforethought. And some of it will be just plain obtuseness, to use a delicate word. A few case studies to establish that this issue around the challenge we face is entirely about procurement. When most people think about Woyomi, their minds do not go to procurement. That's not how they kind of conceive the problem. They kind of think, okay, there's a guy who somehow connected and duped Ghana. That's all they say. But actually, the Woyomi problem has its roots in procurement. It's about government doing business and the prices at which government does that business. The processes that establish those prices, and whether or not, therefore, we have value for money. In Woyomi's case, the whole problem started because government decided, when it needed to build a stadia, not to follow procurement rules to the latter and abandon them midway. And that created the conditions for him then to suggest that he had been discriminated against and that he had actually made costs that were not factored in, and therefore he needed money back to the government.
So once there are challenges with the economy, many will ask, how do we deal with Ghana's economy? While speaking at this particular conference, Bright Simons also gave some recommendations as to how the economy can be saved.
All over the world. Nobody's denying that. There's been an impact. We all saw it. We stayed home. People could not go and sell things and all of that. The question is, to what extent, there are two questions. To what extent does their problem contribute to our current challenge? And two, how do we compare to others that also had the same problem? Here is some graphs from DMC that gives you an idea of where Ghana fits in when it comes to how badly hit we were by the disease itself, the number of deaths, the number of people who got sick, etc. And you can see that we are average. We are average, right? We are not as bad as these people here, but we are also not as good as these people here, right? We are average, but we are significantly below the African average, which is the most important thing. So the COVID, from a point of view of disease and death, was not as bad in Ghana as the average African country. That's the first point. Then you look at, okay, but what about the least affected countries? We are not there, for obvious reasons, because we are average. The second thing that you look at is, in our economy, everybody agrees that in our economy, jobs are critical. Jobs are fundamental. A lot of the problems we face are jobs related. People don't get employment, they don't get paid well enough and the rest. So how badly the COVID affects us from a jobs point of view. And then you can see that, compared to countries that lost nearly 60% of jobs at some point through the lockouts like Kenya, we don't do too badly, right? We don't do too badly. We are like 29%, right? We are nowhere near Cape Verde or Gabon or any of those countries that really saw massive loss in the aftermath. And we've recovered most of those job losses and the rest of it. So yes, there was a problem. We are worse off than some countries, as you can see on the graph, but it's not as if we were the worst hit. So that's the second point, jobs. Then we look at, okay, but when you shut down the economy, things will go bad. Lockdown is bad. So how severe was our lockdown versus other countries in Africa? How bad was the lockdown? And it turned out that we tried about a month and then we quickly dialed back. And that has affected how the rest of the world sees us in terms of the severity of our lockdown, how bad our lockdown was. So you can see here that Ghana is behind Benin and certainly behind a lot of the bigger countries that includes South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, the Congo.
So that's Bright Simon speaking at the 2022 Banredu lecture. Now, member of Council of State Samo Kojo is described as shameful former President Mahama's criticism of the Chief Justice and the Judiciary over their handling of some politically related cases. Addressing lawyers affiliated with the NDC, former President Mahama stated the image of the judiciary is broken and that it will take a new Chief Justice to repair same. The NDC's 2022-2020 presidential candidate also noted that the current judiciary has become an item of ridicule and mistrust.
So badly has the image of our judiciary deteriorated that many of our citizenry openly make mockery of our justice system and of our justices. The phrase, "go to court," is these days met with derisive laughter instead of hope that one will truly get justice if he went to the courts. If people are not poking fun about politics, the hand of justice in the lower courts, then it is poking fun and making statements about the 7-0 of the unanimous FC. Verdicts which mostly involve cases of a political nature in our Supreme Court. This is an unfortunate but serious development. For the urgent need for the Ghanaian judiciary to work to win the trust and confidence of the citizenry and erase the widely held perception of hostility and political bias in legal proceedings at the highest courts of the land. Unfortunately, we have no hope that the current leadership of our judiciary can lead such a process of change. We can only hope that a new Chief Justice will lead a process to repair the broken image that our judiciary has acquired over the last few years. The unfortunate situation with our judiciary is exacerbated by a president who is packing the courts and appointing openly partisan judges to both the superior and lower courts. To make matters worse, the president and his legal team believe in weaponizing state prosecutions against political opponents. It is in the interest of our judiciary and of our country that our judiciary does all it can to shed the image it has acquired for itself as an institution determined to affirm everything the appointing authority wants through bizarre rulings and abandonment of all established principle.
But speaking to Raymond Akwa on Upfront, Mr. Kojo accused the former president of being selective in its criticism of the judiciary.
A person of that high level should understand what the constitutional process is and not just make a sweeping statement which will undermine confidence in the whole institution.
Okay.
And as I say, a lack of confidence in the whole institution will mean that people should take the law into their own hands.
Okay. Oh, that's how it relates to the possibilities
that is where
of
the danger lies.
Okay.
Because it means that, well, if I can take a gun and shoot you, if I'm stronger than you, I can beat you and go and take your property and say, to hell with you. Then it means you are helpless, isn't it?
That's true.
Exactly. But the reason why we made a constitution was to ensure that if such a thing happened, even if it is the government that has taken your property, you understand, you have a right to go to court.
How do you feel when you hear people say unanimous FC, referring to the Supreme Court, and says that their decisions are almost unanimous, so they are like a football club?
Oh, no.
Unanimous FC.
Well, you see, there was only this current judgment. That is why. When the older one was given,
the election petition,
when the other petition was given in his favor, he didn't say anything against it. Why was it that this one is against him and then he's now using the statement like that?
In fact, he said others have been saying it. Is the other people on the street have been saying it?
He should never repeat it at all. It is shameful for him. He's my own cousin, but my nephew. It is shameful to make something like because others are saying it. You were former president. You went to Supreme Court. They took you to Supreme Court, challenging your election. Judgment was given in your favor. You did not say anything was wrong with it. Then another election is held. Then judgment is given against you. Then this time you're making reference. People are saying, if they are saying you shouldn't repeat it, you should not.
He says former President Mohammed's criticism of the judiciary, according to him, was influenced by the outcome of the Afrobarometer survey conducted by the Center for Democratic Development. But Sam Okujeto says the survey was poorly done.
You know, I can tell you, you are in journalism, so you should know that when you go asking people who are ignorant of a system, you understand, and it's been trumpeted to them, that is the more reason why I think the judge is giving a caution. When it's been trumpeted to people, I say, oh, that's why these judges, you can't trust them. You know, they were all appointed by the NPP, and therefore this is the reason why they do that. That becomes a general opinion. Because I've been cautioning people now that the public media has become so, you might call it even dangerous to itself.
The media?
The media, because people are taking advantage of, so they hype. I mean, some of them, you can, sometimes I even ask myself, I said, the devil is really at work.
It's interesting. So, from what you're saying, we cannot really use the Afrobarometer as the barometer in determining, for example.
It can never be. It is not. It is not. They themselves who are doing it should know it. But merely to say that, oh, the survey we have made. And I ask people, I say, okay, it's all right. You can go to Mahakola and go and stop people on the street and interview them. And then you say, okay, I interviewed 1,000 people, and out of that, 80% of them said so and so and so, and I will laugh at you. And I say, you think that 1,000 you have interviewed represent the totality of population of Ghana? It's not.
But it's a sample.
I know, but I'm just saying the danger which is involved in it.
Okay. Is the generalization.
Exactly, because you will see that the opinions like that have been heard, even to say government, somebody's party is going to lose an election, and then the party wins. Because it means that you are not the be all and the we all, or sometimes I say you are not God.
For months, rumors have been rife that the General Secretary of the Opposition, National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, was lacing his boot to run for the NDC's chairmanship position, leaving the General Secretary office he has held for close to 2 decades. Mr. Asiedu Nketia confirmed on Wednesday he will not seek another term as the party's General Secretary. This paves way for his rumored intention to contest Samuel Ofosu Ampofo for the chairmanship slot. Kojo Asante of our political desk has this report on what is set to be an intriguing fight between the two giants.
General Mosquito, as Asiedu Nketia is popularly called, has been the NDC's General Secretary for the last 17 years. Shrugging off contests and winning easily, Johnson Asiedu Nketia is seeking a change of environment, it appears, and is said to be eyeing the job of Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, who is currently the national chairman of the party. A number of persons, including Asiedu Nketia's deputy, Peter Boama Otukono, have all indicated their readiness to replace him, deepening rumors that Asiedu Nketia was preparing to go in for another challenge. After months of speculation, General Mosquito says he will no longer contest for his current position.
17 years. There be any why Congress Yamanya below 80%.
For the last 17 years, there's been no internal election where I've had less than 80%.
Obia ubisa obia general nkode ameko.
Look at all these persons who want to run for General Secretary.
I say, me consider Sunday morning and I'm David. Yankoyanim. Enti, they make a ceremony say General Secretary and they take it from me. Uncle Bill.
But he is not planning to retire. And the conversation for the last few months has been that Asiedu Nketia will be seeking to rival Ofosu Ampofo for the national chairmanship position. Indeed, some have claimed the elders within the NDC have been trying to broker a deal between the two due to the potential division such a contest will cause within the NDC. Asiedu Nketia says such fears are unfounded and all but confirming that he will be running for chairman.
Matiti say, Ebinumo Kase, Asiedu Nketia Nkwande oni Ampofo Koprea, party Numu Beche, Echako Hifa.
I've heard people say if I contest Ofosu Ampofo for the chairmanship, the party will be divided. How will that happen? The party only last week announced a roadmap which will culminate in the election of national executives in December of this year. This contest, if it comes off at all, will test the strength of the party, even as they resolve to win the 2024 election after losing the last two. For Joy News, Kojo Asante.
At least 4 persons have died from June to July this year, with several others injured on the Sankor Cape 3 Point Road in the Hunter West municipality of the Western region due to its deteriorating nature. Chiefs in over 20 communities along the stretch of road have given the government a month ultimatum to let contractors to get to the road. The chiefs are unhappy with the poor nature of their road, which has been abandoned for several decades.
Following the discovery of oil at Deep Sea Cape 3 Point, it was expected that governments will upgrade and reconstruct some roads linking surrounding communities to the rest of the country, but the opposite is the case. Assembly member for Intakron Prince Kobna Abakro, speaking to the media on behalf of traditional leaders, says several communities within their hinterland have been cut off from the rest of the country due to the poor nature of their roads.
We summon here today to lay bare our grievances and this pressure regarding the construction of the road network along Sanko to Cape 3 Point stretch. This 25 roads serves over 20 communities and vast cultivated land of rubber, cocoa, oil palm, coconut. I think we all agree from the above points raised that no one needs to be convinced on the economic importance of this road network linking Sanko to Cape 3 Point in this region. So we are asking the government of the day, award of contract, political deception or rarity. Why has this stretch of road been regretted for so long a time? On numerous occasions we have heard that this stretch has been awarded to a contractor. We are asking Mr. President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, whether the construction of Sanko to Cape 3 Point Road is a form of political deception or rarity. We are asking this question on the grounds that on several occasions, the President, the Regional Minister, the MP and the MCs of this current government have told and given promises that this particular stretch of road has been portioned into 5 lots and awarded into 5 different contractors. Yes, we have seen 2 contractors on the road from Cape 3 Point behind doing regraveling. So where are the remaining 3?
Some traditional leaders who have been speaking to Joy News at the sidelines of the press conference says the president has failed to honor all promises he made to them to fix their roads. According to the chiefs, there were several promises made by the government to fix the road before the 2016 and 2020 election, but they are yet to fulfill them.
Because government promised us that this year is year of roads, so we need the share of our cake, because what the government gets from this area is enough. So we are telling the government by the end of this month, if we did not see the contractor on the road, then they should forget about the Cape 3 Point lights and whatever they get is from this land. Robert State, we are going to stop them. If they want to carry their rubber, they can carry it away. We won't let them use the road, because the road, it is not the government who opened the road for us. Yes, ma'am. Our ancestors use cutlass to open the roads. So no.
The chiefs and people of these communities have given the president and the government a 1-month ultimatum to get the roads fixed. For Joy News in Athalia, Kwanza, Western Region.
Still to come here, the Tema Motorway is riddled with potholes and drivers are complaining about the poor nature of that motorway.
Very bad. Potholes is serious, especially that bridge in the way China that be a bridge bridge the whole potholes they say come some other thing, but very bad. Motorway and yet.
Welcome back from the break. Now, potholes and surface defect on roads are a big problem in this country. Not only do they look unsightly, but they also pose a real safety hazard to road users. Whilst in other jurisdictions, road users get compensated for the impact of potholes on their vehicles, Ghanaians suffer the harsh realities of potholes in pain. I've been spending some time on the Tema Motorway today to monitor how potholes are making the motorway a death trap for users. Here's what my camera captured.
Currently, as I said, it's about 60 years. It's about 60 years. So the moment the lifespan reaches or elapses, this development will come. So what we are doing is, let's tackle the most serious one first. Our mobile maintenance units are on standby for the potholes. So that one will be done immediately after we have finished this one.
A road engineer with the Ghana Highway Authority given assurances potholes on the motorway will be patched immediately after repair works on the Lakblakpa Bridge were completed. It's been over 3 months and the potholes are now becoming increasingly problematic for road users. Robert has been driving on this highway for the past 10 years.
Very bad. Potholes is serious, especially that bridge in the way China that be a bridge the whole potholes they say come some other thing, but very bad. Motorway and what I'm sure is serious. And then I check. We started to use car for motorways. We know how many cars for more than 10 years. So they are tear and tear. They are patchy still. They are tear and tear. So motorway there. Best thing is that I'm paying for bedroom on by and for flat because we own concrete any iron rods. It's what the coach are missing concrete in iron rods. Any baby, I am so much patchy. I say I start paying about up because I don't need concrete. Now the coach are the flat. It's almost part of the programs of engineers and
at the Manette Junction motorway taxi rank, I come across Seth, a driver. He describes driving on the motorway as hell.
Something about coming to
Shashi. Potholes are there, more is uncountable. When you reach, before you reach Abattoir Bridge, there is a bridge there. That is no more potholes because two sides or whether here or here is two lane. Any driver reach there, you have to slow down before you can pass and continue your journey. And when you are coming to malls and on the way before you get to the roundabout, and for county there is uncountable, honestly. And some they patch some raise when it will throw you. Some too they patch it, but it's going down. So it's no more. And the road side is no more. The first as motor is it's no more motorway now. It become normal road now. It is no more motorway. There's a traffic 24 hours all the time. When you get to the motorway, it is only midnight that you can pass motorway. You will go safely. But daytime, you will not what you want you get. Rather what is on the way. That's how you also go about it.
Fiavo is also a taxi driver here. He wants government to take action.
Even from here we are right now. Recently, some has occurred. Just from Tema roundabout coming to Abattoir, that area. There's a lot of accidents that happen over there due to potholes. As you know, motorway is a highway. In fact, now it has become a normal road for us. So if they want to maintain the motorway as a highway, then they should at least we need extension and to solve the potholes on the motorway.
It is safe to say that potholes are a big concern for road users. The longer we wait, the more accident and death are recorded on this motorway. For Joy News, Samuel Kojo Brace, Motorway. Now joining us for some discussion on this is Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, who is a road consultant. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, how do we, or what must be done to a road like the motorway, which has spent like 60 years of its lifespan?
Well, I would say good evening to your viewers. The motorway is gone. Over the past few years, we have heard the Minister for Roads and Highways giving us assurances that by the end of this year, 2022, the motorway would start. I mean, the construction will start in earnest. There are two types of material you see on the motorway. The concrete is the flexible, the rigid pavement. And then the asphalt that they are using to do the correction is the flexible pavement. So it's not surprising that the two of them do not actually bond over a long period of time. But it's because I think the government is about to start the construction. That's why they are not devoting or actually putting in a lot of money to do the repairs, the remedial work that will stay for a very long time, because they might have to inconvenience motorists on that road again as they do the maintenance of those potholes, which have the iron rods coming out, posing a lot of danger to the tires of vehicles. But let's find out from the government whether indeed, before the close of this year, as promised, we would have the motorway started. And then the mobile maintenance unit of the Ghana Highway Authority just have to continue with the repair works. However short the lifespan of the repair works would be, it's always better to save lives than to say because we are going to do a new construction, the defect will be exposed like that to pose so much danger to motorists on the said corridor.
But usually on a road like this, how frequent should be repair works carried out on them?
No, you don't have to carry any repair works if the road is in a good state. But we all know that the motorway has actually outlived its lifespan. Like we are saying, it's almost like 60 years. And it is only proper that if the government had decided to maintain the two carriageway, I think some years before then, they would have done some maintenance on this and then put another layer, because this is not asphalt. If it was an asphalt, they could have done some what we call the structural integrity of the road, and then look at the lifespan which is left, and then if they deem it fit to do spot improvement and do an asphalt overlay. But this is a rigid pavement, like I said, this is not asphalt. So until the road has defects, you don't do regular maintenance. You only do maintenance when you actually do your road condition survey, and then the findings will now warrant or necessitate the maintenance of the road. So I'm still on the fact that we are going to do an expansion of about 4 or 5 lanes coming before the end of the year. So there's a section, there's a department particularly responsible for maintaining of the highway. That's the mobile maintenance unit. I think that they may have to come in, once you have gotten this exposed again, they may have to come in and then do the temporary maintenance as we await the government commencement of the major project. That is what I think government should do. And your medium is very widely circulated, so I'm sure that the appropriate quarters will take it up today, and then hopefully within the course of the week, they will have to go and do even when the construction starts, we cannot close the road as we do the construction. So there might be segmented portions of the road that will be done, will be open to traffic as we are dealing with different carriageways. And it's only proper that any contractor who will be on that project, one of the responsibility of the contractor who's going to execute the project is that he has to ensure that the road is actually put in good use as he is doing maybe the other lane in the opposite direction before he actually divert traffic onto that lane and then come to the next lane, either the Accra leg or the Tema leg.
All right, okay. I'm grateful that you could join us here. That's Engineer Abdullahi Mahama. He is a road consultant. Moving on, Tindambas, or earth priest in Wa municipality, have rejected the assertion from sections of the public and the media the description of suspect Kankani Adongo as a mentally ill person. At a press conference held in Wa, they stated without any equivocation that a suspect is sane, and after consultation from their gods, it was revealed to them that he is part of the criminal gang killing people in the Wa municipality. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
The press conference, according to the Wala Tindambas, is necessitated by the suspected killing of 10 persons for ritual purpose in the last 8 months by persons they prefer to call unrepentant killers, which has made the people to live in fear. They noted that the entire Wa municipality is in grief and are therefore offering their deepest condolences to the affected families for the untimely passing of their blood relations. Spokesperson of the Tindambas, Hussein Kayum, spoke of their resolve to find the perpetrators of the heinous crime. They seized the opportunity to debunk rumors on assertions made in several quarters, including the media, that the suspect, Kankani Adongo, who was arrested by the search party and handed over to the police, was mentally challenged.
Some unconcerned people are alleged to have labeled the accused as lunatic without presenting a single shred of proof. We vehemently reject the assertion that the suspect is a mental ill, since this one conduct may interfere with the SKU investigation. Any attempt to obstruct investigation with such unsupported claim won't be accepted. The suspect also seen carrying large sum of cash in 100 Ghana cedis, 200 Ghana cedis note, which led us to conclude that no crazy person would be carrying so much cash around. Anyone who witnessed the suspect as his hiding place will never compare him to someone who is mentally impaired. The allegation that the defendant is mentally ill is unfounded and will never be accepted by us.
The Tindambas further made the following submission to back their claim.
Now, a Cape Coast District Court has remanded a self-styled pastor, Michael Dakon, and a Tufuhen of Ekumfi Akwakrom, Christopher Eko Klakwansa, to police custody. The two are alleged to have kidnapped, killed, and buried Georgina Ya Boche in an uncompleted story building for ritual purposes. They have been charged with attempting to commit crime to wit murder and are to reappear in court on the 4th of October 2022. Richard Kojo has more.
The police prosecutors in court on Thursday indicated that the deceased, Georgina Asoboche, lives at Yeji in the Bono East region. She was an applicant seeking admission to the Ankafo Psychiatric Nursing School. She arrived in Cape Coast on the 8th of September 2022. Upon arrival, she called the pastor and informed him about his presence in the region and what she was coming to do. The pastor, a self-styled one and boyfriend of the sister of the deceased, Doris Ankama, informed her he would pick her after the interview. On the 9th of September, about midday, the chief and the pastor said they decided to kill the deceased for money rituals. The two met at the Ankafo Psychiatric Nursing School, picked the deceased up in a taxi to Pedi Junction in Cape Coast, where the chief had parked his Benz car with registration number GT 8686C. The chief drove to Aquacrum, where he is a Tufuhin, took the deceased's iPhone and locked her in a room. The accused person went to Iskafo Amantam, a suburb of Mankesim, where they dug a hole in an uncompleted story building belonging to the chief. They went back for the deceased and sent her to Iskafo Amantam. The chief allegedly hit the deceased with a club and the deceased fell down. The pastor is also alleged to have held the neck of the deceased till she died. They then cut the hair of the deceased after killing her and left the uncompleted story building around 2 a.m. A complaint was lodged to the police by the brother of the deceased, Alfred Dodu, a military man who stays in Takrady, after notices had been posted on social media indicating the deceased, Georgina Asoboche, cannot be found. The police picked intelligence and started looking for the accused person.
Now, the killing of a phone dealer and attempted kidnapping of 2 toddlers in part of the city have raised security concerns among some residents in Kumasi. Police in the Ashanti region have been urged to step up effort in fighting crime after the 2 separate incidents. Nana Aljima has more in the following report.
Residents of the area gather at the home of the deceased to mourn. They describe him as a gentleman. Since 2019, Abdul Wahab has lived in the house you see behind me alone. According to residents, sometimes he has his girlfriend visiting him. Now, on 3 different occasions, according to these residents, armed robbers have attempted to break into the house, but they have not been successful. Eyewitnesses say the robbers had earlier demanded money, which the deceased could not provide. Later, they requested his mobile phone. The robbers subsequently shot Wahab.
When I came out, and then she approached me and said that the guy has been shot. And I asked her, why is that you weren't shouting so loud that people could hear you and come? So she passed by the house and got to the next house behind theirs and called a certain man to the scene. And we rushed him to county hospital for first aid before he was transferred to Komfanoche emergency unit. He's a neighbor, he's a friend, and I know him to be someone who deals in mobile phones. Yeah.
The neighborhood, according to eyewitnesses, have frequently witnessed robberies.
Yes, it does happen almost every day. Yeah.
A robbery?
Robbery, yeah.
By armed men?
Yeah, sometimes by armed men. Sometimes not. The men are not armed. Yeah.
Have you been a victim?
Just once. But actually, they didn't enter my room. They couldn't enter my room. They entered the veranda. They broke into the veranda, made away with everything.
But sometimes we hear of robbery, but not with guns, not armed. When you leave the house or you come, you will see that they've broken into your house, but not armed, just as what we heard last night.
We'll take a break. When we return, we have showbiz for you here on the Joy News. All right, so Becky is here with the latest from the showbiz world. Hiya.
Yes, hello to you, Brace. How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm also fantastic. Let's talk about the arts industry. You know, the artists in Ghana, we don't normally put the spotlight on them, but we have one, Tabby Crinsel, who's been talking about the inspiration behind the art exhibitions that we have in Ghana and across the world. He spoke to my colleague Na Ajele Doku on Outlook.
Be on your own. Nobody will give an artist any money. Yeah. So when you paint and you make any sale, you make sure you keep a little bit for yourself, so you can be able to organize an exhibition.
Like you said, you need to have a good relationship with the venue.
Yes,
so if you don't have that kind of relationship. If you're now starting out, wow.
So then you might have to join with other artists, and which is also done.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting money to raise a show, then you have to rely on other sources.
Okay.
Either your own savings you've done, or you rely on other sources, and then you raise a little money.
Okay. So some of the things to consider when you're trying to put together your exhibition, first your collection, then your location, then what else again?
And then you need to like, for instance, every exhibition has to go with an opening ceremony, for instance. So you're inviting how many people? You have to do your invitation cards. You have to personally invite people to come to the show.
All right.
Yeah, Tabi Crystal there. And let's move on. Let's talk about Global Citizen. You know that Asha, well, it's actually in town, if I'm not lying.
Asha Raymond.
The Asha Raymond.
Yeah.
Stone Boy is on that bill. Sarkodie and Jackie is on that bill.
Yeah.
And so this afternoon we went to the venue to see how far preparations is going.
It's really amazing because this program is less talk and more music, right, and advocacy, right? And so I think that's what people are coming here for, to be entertained while also pushing a policy agenda. And that's what we're going to have on display here on Saturday.
Well, then again, it means security is going to be uptight. Any worthy information you want to put out there for the festival attendants?
Absolutely. So if you're one of the lucky individuals that one of the 20,000 individuals. So first off, we're completely sold out.
20,000 people.
Yeah, we're
already sold out.
Yes, we're completely sold out. And if you're one of the lucky individuals that was able to take action and win a ticket, yes, those tickets are free, but this is a ticketed event and you need to present your ticket to enter into the venue. Each ticket admits one individual, and once it's scanned at the entry point, you can come in, but you aren't able to go back out. So it's really important for people to know that once they get in here and they scan that ticket, they're not going to be able to go out, and it's a single-use ticket. Further, people need to arrive early. This isn't one of those events that starts 4 hours late. I know that our people sometimes are accustomed to those, but this is going to start on time. Highly recommend that everyone gets here by 2:30.
Global Citizen, we can't wait.
No.
We can wait for all the performances. But Brace, our Throwback Thursday, today's musician and performer, Kojo Japan. She is a Ghanaian female high life singer and television personality. She is the next to take a turn on E-Vibes as she takes fans on her journey to stardom. Japan began singing at an early age and was discovered by high life artist Nana Ampedu in the 90s. She is regarded as a high life legend of our time. In 1992, she formed the high life supergroup Nakoras together with fellow high life artists Nat Brew and Rex Omar. Her first album was Frema, which was released on January 1, 1990. The Frema album had songs such as Meye Oba, which became an instant hit. Born Ananto San Beshe Woma, among others. So the 63-year-old will tell her story on E-Vibes on the Joy News channel Saturday, October 1st at 8:30 a.m., Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Also on Joy Prime at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday. So you don't want to miss it. So that's our Throwback Thursday for today's Kojo Japan. But before I go, Blacko is out with a new one called Soldier. If you haven't seen it, here it's actually out, but because for copyright purposes, we have only the intro that when he
looks like a teaser
of that. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Blacko.
Oh my goodness!
Give them, give everybody.
My goodness! That's
say it.
That's a Grammy-winning song.
Praise the Lord.
And the guy should have featured me on that song.
I feel
maybe we'll do a remix of that. I'm going to spit it out there, All right then, and that's how we wrap up today's bulletin. Here, there's more news on myjoyonline.com.
Did you say that he should feature you?
Exactly. I mean, I love the storyline. It's like my storyline, so I want to feature him and do some spitting there.
Please don't listen to
All right then, so you go on to majoonline.com for all the news that you need in this nation and beyond. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace.
I'm here.
Enjoy
I'm also
the rest
here.
of your
Don't leave me out. I'm
day.
here.
Yeah, Becky's also
Please
here.
don't lie to the people that you know how to sing. Don't do that.